Broadcasting from an undisclosed location under a farm pond somewhere in the Midwest. Your host is Jim Crowley. This is Slickfish Radio. Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Slickfish Radio. Man, it just seems like the days have been going by so fast here lately. And hopefully, all of you have been fishing. We've been out fishing lately, and it's been pretty good. We were in Mille Lacs a couple weeks ago. Some of you have been seeing the teasers of some of that stuff that we threw out there. And I'm going to be having more coming up lately. And our guest tonight is going to be Troy, my buddy Troy Lindner. Always great to talk to Troy. Always great to fish with him. We're going to tell you a little bit about the goofy planning that goes into that, just so we can hang out for a day together on the water. But they're one of my absolute favorite guys in the industry, and just been able to fish together for the last several years. It's a tradition, and we have fun, and that is part of the reason that we all love fishing. Look at everybody chiming in. Jim Sarsfield, hi. Gen Wong, hey, how you doing? Again, glad to have you guys here, and more people chiming on. Thanks for all of you coming on tonight. We're going to have some fun. Plus, those of you joining us tonight, you are going to see a teaser in a little while here tonight of the show that Troy and I have up and coming on Wired to Fish TV. Hey, Tony, how are you? Tony says hi to everybody. Says hi to Troy as well. Love tradition. Hey, great. Yeah, love traditions. No kidding, Jim. They are the best. So yeah, we're going to show you a little teaser trailer here. And I hope you appreciate my nod to Hollywood in my absolute favorite movie of all time. You'll get that when we show you this in a little bit. But I couldn't think of a better way to blend these two together. When Troy and I get to fish together, something always exciting happens. Maybe some of you saw the video I put out today on the double tagged walleye. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. That's the first time I ever caught a tagged fish before and have a double tagged one. That was just my wife Rhonda says, hi Troy from upstairs. And so I'm sure he'll hear that. When I bring him on, I'll let him know, honey. My wife, always my biggest fan and my best supporter. God, I love her. But we're gonna have some fun tonight. But I'm gonna tell you about some stuff that's coming up. First of all, I want to thank the wonderful people that we partner with. Before I do that, I know I say this a lot on every show, but thank you to all of you who join us, not only here live on Facebook, but on Roku and Fire TV, where our channel is, the Slickfish Radio channel is doing really, really well there. For those of you who find us on Amazon Music, iTunes, or Spotify, or YouTube, thank you. Thank you very much. We wouldn't have a show without all of you, each and every one of you, from when I see you during show season to when you chime on to the show or just email and comments. I'm very grateful for all of you. Thank you all for joining in tonight. And I also want to thank the people that help. Also, another part of the show that helped bring us this show that we partner with all the time. Our friends at American Tackle. Our buddy Don Morris was on a couple of weeks ago talking about ICAST and some of the great things that American Tackle is going to be bringing again to ICAST like they do each and every year. Our friends at Explore Lacrosse. I'm going to Lacrosse tomorrow. So I am heading up there tomorrow. We are going to do something that some of you have asked me about before. We always do a bass fishing show up there, but tomorrow we're going to film the rest of this week on white bass, crappie, and maybe some walleye. I am going to get you an episode that we're going to show you guys when to see it, everything. I'm also going to have one of the guides on here in a couple weeks to talk to you about the La Crosse area, what you can expect, and the absolutely incredible fishing. Check this out. They're catching white bass right now up to 17 inches, okay? And a lot of them. And a lot of crappies. Any of you father, sons, mother, daughters, family, whatever, you want to get up to La Crosse right now if you want a great fishing trip with your family. Now is the time. Water levels are stabilized. The tournaments are starting to come back there after the high water levels. The fish are biting. The fish are biting. The fish are biting. There's a lot going on right now. And now is the time to be there. The whole summer is great fishing on the river and La Crosse. So on top of that, there's great things to see. I love riding bikes, as a lot of you know. There's great bike trails there. Awesome restaurants, fantastic places to stay. We're also going to be highlighting one of the places you can stay that have boat plug-ins and access to tackle shops real close by and access to a ramp real close by. We got a lot of stuff coming in this episode and reels and shorts on social media in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully some of you can get out there and do it yourself with your kids and have a great time. And La Crosse is a great area for that. I also want to thank our friends at Shields in Springfield, Illinois. Nobody has a better selection of Rapala. And up-to-date stuff than Shields. Nobody has better selection of anything, in my opinion, than Shields. They are fantastic about that. They are also partners with a lot of the people that we work with, and Shields, their employees know fishing. Their employees know everything. If you're going there looking for a dartboard, they have somebody that's who he specializes in. That's how good Shields in. Our friends at Casking, they just released, you might have saw it on social media today. If not, you'll see more of it. As it gets closer to ICAST, my friends, they're going to start talking more and more about this kind of stuff being released. And one of the new things released is their new Hyper Seal tackle boxes. These are waterproof. I saw some of them at the Classic. These things are going to be awesome. They are going to change tackle storage and make things more waterproof. Another great thing coming from Casking. And as always, we are powered by our friends from Dakota Lithium. They give so much back to the sport in fishing and so many different aspects of it. If you're looking for a lithium battery, power your passion with an 11-year warranty. Nobody does it better. And the first on the block, hey, that was Dakota Lithium. So with all that being said, I'm so glad all of you are here. Let's get to our guest. There he is. Troy, welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Great to be here. How are you doing?
Fantastic, buddy. Time goes by too fast. We were planning, and just so people know, you said this a little bit on the show that they'll see next week, but people are like, "Oh, that's great. You guys are going fishing together." That doesn't take just one thing with our schedule, does it?
No, it takes a lot of planning, months out. Well, almost half a year out when we kind of look at the,
Yeah.
third week in May tentatively, and then we kind of narrow it down from the week. We narrow it down to the day, and then depending on your travel schedule and also my filming schedule here for Angling Buzz and
Yeah.
the things that are going on here, and then we can line up one day, and hopefully the weather is right on a lake in which if the wind blows, you're
We're going
hard
somewhere
on
else.
Yeah.
And even when we were out in the boat that day, you got a call from the studio, and you're like, "If I leave now, you guys are going to start catching them." And you
Yeah.
stayed, and I'm glad you did, because then we really got into it. But I know you got like, "Oh, they want me back at the studio." It's sometimes work is work, isn't it?
hmm
It
Yeah, I was
definitely
able to put
is.
off to film a little segment for Angling Buzz, and inside the studio, unfortunately, we're able to do it the following day. And I had a feeling though that as soon as you leave, it's like dropping your friend off at the launch ramp, and they got to leave, and then yeah, you know what happened? The fish started biting as soon as you left.
Of course, or you
hmm
should have been here yesterday,
You should have
right?
been here yesterday. Yeah.
That's right. Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and I love the Angling Buzz format. I like the whole idea about it. Go back in time a little bit. How did you guys come up with, because that's I think that, in my opinion, it's one of the most informational shows for the Midwest that there is, because you guys cover so much different thing and really keep people in to the bite. How did you guys come up with that idea?
That that formula, I guess it's almost a formula in the concept of it. My cousin James, I believe, kind of came up with the idea for. I think it started in the newspaper, and they had, I forgot where it was exactly, but it became like a report section, weekly fishing reports across the upper Midwest in a news in one of the publications, and then it kind of developed and grew, and then they decided to take that format and put it into television.
Mhm.
And we're in our 8th year for Angling Buzz and
Jeez.
Learn Media Productions doing that, and it's been quite an incredible ride there. And we provide up-to-date information, across the upper Midwest. And primary, most people, they want panfish. Panfish and
Sure.
walleye are such important fish up here, but also we cover everything from trout, the tributaries for trout in Michigan, the Great Lakes, as well as smaller segments of the market like muskie anglers who boy, they're passionate about fishing, and we
Oh
do
yeah.
have a lot of information based for anything that swims in the upper Midwest as well as Canada. We cover it, and we try to cover it as timely as possible.
And it's funny you said that. It's 8 years, and so I'm like, man, you were 12 when you started the show. That's pretty cool. And because I remember the first time you may not even remember this, but I think it was back in 2009. The first time I was at ICAST, and I think that's when we initially met. Because actually, I had just started with Rapala just a little bit before that, and you were still fishing tournaments
hmm
back then and everything. And I remember just we were introduced in the booth, and this was all, the ICAST thing was all new to me, and I think it might have been a little new to you,
Mhm.
you know, as well. And then years went by and we kept running into one another. And then eventually it's cool that we got to hang out and fish together. When people see the show next week, and you know, we were in that stage of pre-spawn smallmouth, and what I want to talk a little bit about tonight is just because there's a lot of people that are here from the Midwest, and especially upper Illinois into Wisconsin and all that, and so you know they get on that smallmouth bite, and it's interesting. One of the things that we saw is they were trying to get to the bank, and then you'd have a cold front, and then finally when it did happen, like a couple days after we were there, they move up so much in force. If
Mhm.
you had to tell somebody something about pre-spawn fish, and you've done it enough, I've done enough, but what would you tell them? Hey, if you're in a big body of water like this might be a couple things to look for.
You're looking for the usually the northern bays, the northern facing bays that warm up a little bit faster, that shallow gravel, hard bottom area where those fish can be protected, usually protected from the wind. And also, if you're familiar with the lake, those fish, smallmouth, will come back to the same areas. A lot of times they'll come back to the same tree, the same rock, year after year after year. I've seen that on Lake Havasu, fishing those tournaments. Year after year, I go up into the river at Lake Havasu, and I can go to the exact same piece of structure, same piece of actually same piece of cover on the bank, and cast to it, and I know exact. And the beds are in the same spot. They're to the left of the. It's unbelievable. They're to the left. The stick comes down, and I'm looking at it, and it's always to the left of it, and it's year after year. And the same thing can happen on bigger, more open lakes, that the fish go to the same spot, and then I believe that their offspring kind of learn that, almost like trout, salmon, going up into tributaries, that they learn this, they pass along that information where they spawn, they go back and spawn in the same areas. And if you have no history of the lake at all, you're going to a brand new lake, northern facing lake, the northern facing bays of that lake are going to
Hmm.
warm up the fastest. And depending on, when you get there, if you're progressing later in the season, like now, you might look at the southern parts of the lake that maybe are a little bit cooler, where those fish are going to spawn a little bit later. And when you time it right, like we saw, it's unbelievable. They move up.
Oh,
It can be in the day. They're not there in the morning. Sun hits everything, warms everything up, and within 1 hour, they just come up. And a lot of times, the first movement, they'll come up and they're just searching. They're looking around like we had. They're not on beds.
right.
There's no beds. They're just coming up. They're searching. They're swimming around, but they're also very aggressive. So you can just fish them like with a jerk bait, where you don't
Yep.
quite know where they're at, and you can fish that bait relatively quickly, a lot faster than like a Ned rig or something. So you're covering a lot of water, making catch, and then you're just kind of intercepting them when they're roaming around. And it's just a lot of fun. They're also pretty much at their heaviest weight,
Oh yeah.
the entire season as well.
Well, we saw that too, because we had an area that, we've been fishing for the last couple of years, and we hadn't seen anything in there, and we're going by there, and Troy said, "Hey, we're going to check that spot." And I'm like, "Well, we are
Mm-hmm.
just there a little while ago and there was nothing there." And he goes, "Well, let's check it one more time." Holy cow. And I mean, this was a matter of hours.
Mm-hmm.
And they moved up, and the first fish he hooked, there were 10 or 15 others behind it. And any of you
Mm-hmm.
guys who see the show next week, you'll see that. And I think the first one he had was 5 pounds. Matter of fact, while we're talking about that, and before we go to break, I want to do this. I want to, not you guys, and let me know what you guys think of this clip, but this is my this is kind of my tribute to my favorite movie of all time, and Troy and I's day together. And you're going to see this on Wired to Fish TV next week. See if you can guess. Just see if you can guess the movie. Look for Jim Crowley Outdoors on Wired to Fish TV on free ad-supported streaming TV, including Plex, that can be downloaded in the App Store at Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, and others. Nobody can say I don't have a sense of humor.
I like that. You're right. As soon as the I don't know if those are horns or whatever. It's the John Williams soundtrack. Mhm.
And everybody, it's got Jim Sarsfield, get one, Jaws. You guys are right. And the
Mhm.
funny thing is, you saw that burst of sand in there. That was actually a mistake. I was trying to film something, and I stepped on the trolling motor pedal with the GoPro
Oh, and
camera
flushed.
down there, and I go, well, you know what? You can use everything
Yeah.
somehow,
Mhm.
right? And so,
Mhm.
but it came out good. And I hope, and we'll send an announcement out on social media next week about approximately what day that'll air. But it's going to be a really good show. It's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
There's some laughs. There's some tangled messes in there. There's just,
Mhm.
you know what it is. It's a great day of fishing. It's just a lot of fun. So hey, Troy, when we get back, we're going to talk about a couple things, but we are going to take a little bit of a break. We are going to go, as I used to say, with Chuck Woolery used to say, we'll be back and two, and we'll talk some more with Troy Lindner. American Tackle is home to the award-winning microwave line control system. Rod blanks to reel seats, ferrules to finish, grips to guides. They're committed to the very best in rod building components. Find out more, americantackle.us. With fishing beyond your expectations, indoor and outdoor activities, a vast variety of places to eat, drink, and stay. Discover your next adventure between the bluffs. ExploreLaCrosse.com. Located in Springfield, Illinois' largest selection of sports and sportswear, hunting, fishing, specialty shops and services, a 65-foot Ferris wheel, 16,000-gallon saltwater aquarium, and industry-leading knowledgeable employees. You don't take chances at Shields, ever. Go to Shields.com. Achieving affordable innovation through novel concepts and in-house ingenious designs. Cascading cost-effective e-commerce practices directly market to consumers, cutting costs by 30% or more on average. Affordable innovation, superior quality. Casking.com. Believing quality is measured by lifespan and harnessing their unique chemistry and engineering know-how. Dakota Lithium lasts 4 times longer, powering your passion with an 11-year warranty. Find out more, DakotaLithium.com.
Slick Fish Radio with Jim Crowley can be seen and heard on Roku, Fire TV, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iTunes.
There we go. Come here. Get in here. Yeah. Nice fish right there. Hi, I'm Jim Crowley. Make sure you catch my show, Jim Crowley Outdoors, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Wired to Fish TV. Look for Jim Crowley Outdoors on Wired to Fish TV on free ad-supported streaming TV, including Plex, that can be downloaded in the App Store at Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, and others. All right, we are back with my special guest, Troy Lindner. Troy, you guys got a lot of filming for next year coming up and going. And you're probably going to be going to some places, I'm guessing, where there's going to be some walleye fishing. And I know there's a lot of people in the Chicago land area that'll eventually end up seeing this. And when you head up to Ontario for walleyes, especially in the summertime, what are some of the things that because you guys go to different lakes, just like we go to different lakes a lot of times, and what are some of the things that you key on, that you look for first, and then you go, I think we can use this or this and catch them?
Yeah, the makeup of the lake makeup, and usually when we're up in Canada, when I'm filming like for the Canadian Experience, it's in a tiller. We're in like a 9.9 tiller. And you're kind of back trolling or you're drifting, so having something that doesn't snag is pretty important. So basically, like a jig and a swim bait is one of my go-tos. You don't have to mess with live bait, and also just a jig and a swim bait, snap jigging it probably anywhere. If I didn't know anything about the fishery, I just knew that there were walleye there. That would be when you're just talking about presentations, like a 1/4 ounce jig and a 3 to 4 inch swim bait, narrow-sided swim bait. Mm-hmm. When you have the narrow-sided swim bait, it has less drag on the bait, so then it darts down a little bit faster. The wider body, fatter ones, they're good for slow rolling. When you're snap jigging, narrower, sleeker, darts down. When you get that nice darting action, that triggers the bite. And then for locations, wind-swept points, depending on the wind, I would pick anywhere where the wind is coming in within reason, if you can hold on the spot. Anywhere the wind is going to go, it's going to push the bait fish up, push the walleye up a little bit shallower, and then rocks. And obviously, like kind of that smaller gravelly stuff that you can kind of snap jig through. If they're big boulders, that's usually something that I would look for, like smallmouth. If I see giant boulders, I'm thinking smallmouth. Obviously, walleye can use it, But when you're thinking of snap jigging around big boulders can get a little tricky. You're going to be losing some jigs unless you're directly vertical. So if you're like cast out and just snap jigging. And then if I'm fishing in rivers in a boat drifting downstream, vertical fishing with a little bit heavier jig can work really well. Like a jig and wrap, if it's like sandy bottom,
Sure.
jig and wrap works great. If there's nothing to snag except a little bit of weeds, like when we're on Mille Lacs, there's nothing really to snag where we're fishing. We're just, even on the side imaging, it's like pretty smooth. And then those walleyes just come up, they chase the bait, they come back down. There's some cabbage there and they'll kind of hide in that. So there's nothing to snag. And that's where like a jig and wrap is nice. So you can throw those things way, far away from the boat and you can snap it back.
Now, when you're talking about that slender minnow on the swim bait, are you talking more like a fluke style or just a slender, longer swim bait with a boot tail?
I'd say both.
Okay.
Both of those would work. And then finding out which one might trigger, the bite. Split tail is going to fall a little bit faster.
Sure.
I usually fish boot tails because a lot of the walleye waters will have smallmouth. So a lot of times I alternate my casts, like a slow reel for the smallmouth, and then I'll snap jig it if I'm trying to trigger like a walleye. For the most part, you'll see in places, Ben, it's amazing to see how many you slow reel it on a fatter bite, and it's like smallmouth, and you snap jig a narrow one
Walleye.
in the same areas, and it's walleye. It's unbelievable how those two fish can, like, something just jump. That's walleye. They'll snap. I mean, you can catch some smallmouth, but it can be like 75% of the bites are walleye, and then slow reeling, 75% of the bites are smallmouth.
Yeah, it's amazing how, and I've always said that, take two things to catch a fish. You have to attract them and you have to trigger them. But the triggering qualities can be so different for each fish that even though they live sometimes in the same proximities, they react completely different, different to a bait. And I mean, you showed me the snap jigging thing a couple years ago, and now I know I can go just about anywhere where there's walleyes, sometimes within 8 feet. Sometimes I'm going to catch them. If there's walleyes there, I can catch them snap jigging. And one of the questions next question I was going to ask you is, do you leave that hair jig because there's a lot of walleye guys who will watch this eventually too. And do you leave that hair jig mostly for cold water, or is that just another presentation that you may throw in on depending on where you're at?
That's a good question. I think it's just another presentation. The nice thing about hair jig, you fish them right out of the package,
right?
Like the moontail jig, and you don't have to put a fluke on there. You don't have to put a jig or a piece of worm, anything on there. You just take it out and you snap jig it, and then that doesn't have that has even sometimes like less drag, so that'll fall, especially if you're fishing like a quarter ounce, like a moontail jig, and that thing will snap and fall down, and then it kind of has a little air in there that'll gives it a little bit different action, and that can really trigger bites in it. And it's interesting to see how sometimes they'll prefer that over the fluke style or over the swim bait. And then in the colder water conditions, like in the fall or early spring, an 1/8 ounce hair jig where it kind of it almost like glides, and then it falls, and it glides and then kind of falls. And then the quarter ounce is kind of the natural, that's most of the time I'm using that one. And I'll use a 3/8 jig if I'm fishing in river current or really heavy wind, and I got to be able to get that, if you get the bows in the line, and depending on where you're fishing or heavy river current, you want to be able to hit the bottom, I'll go to that heavier jig, or fishing a little bit deeper, like maybe 20 to 25 feet.
One bait I want to talk about a little bit, you and I are both big fans of this, just a hair jig, period. And because it's so effective. And I've told people for a long time, more fish, more smallmouth. When it comes to smallmouth, more smallmouth over 4 pounds probably on the hair jig than just about any other bait that I've thrown when it's thrown at the right time. It is a big fish bait. Second one, no doubt about it, my mind would be a jerk bait. It would be an X-Wrap, just period. It would just be an X-Wrap. But you and I both fish those. We, matter of fact, I have your jerk bait that you left with us. Pike did get it. And we actually did add the natural perch one to that the next day, and caught a couple more big fish on that. So Kurt is very thankful. And I told him he owes you $100 for leaving that bait in the belt, by the way. And I'll tell you what, his birthday was the next day after you left. His first fish on that bait you left him was a 4/8. I go, there's your birthday bass, buddy. And I said, I'll tell Troy that you said thank you and that you owe him $100. And I think at that point, he didn't care. He was perfectly fine with that. It's perfectly fine.
good.
I said, we cannot let a pike get that bait. That goes back to
No.
Troy, and you're going to have to pay him interest, maybe with like another bait, So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyway, it was just
Great.
fun. But the hair jig, and I've seen it work, and I know you have too. It's deadly on crappies. It can be deadly on red ears. It can be. I've had good walleyes on them. I know you have. How many of you lost a pike over the years? And with all the new and fancy lures that come out, sometimes the old stuff, when it comes to hair jigs, it's hard to beat. I never want to say a lure is perfect, but in certain situations, and I know you've been there, we've been in a boat together when it's happened. There's times when they don't want anything else.
Yeah, they zoom in on that like so much where that's the only thing that they'll hit. And I've even seen it like when you're you trout fish, like fishing when I'm fishing little streams and creeks, and it's amazing like what the types of like the nuances that fly anglers can relate to, the nuances that the type of hair can actually make on the bait, and the way it flows through where it flows through the water, if it has tinsel, if it doesn't have tinsel. And you can get, you can really get technical with it. But for the most part, like a VMC marabou jig or the moontail jig like that, you're just kind of slow reeling or lightly bouncing it along the bottom. That works just fine. And it's unbelievable how smallmouth can really tune into that over anything else. It's almost like and walleye sometimes get where they only want to bite something. Like to get these walleye, you got a long line trump, a lead core, and a small little crankbait. That's the only thing that they're hitting. A lot of times, looking at the bass world, smallmouth bass is the only thing that they're hitting. And like largemouth bass, wherever they're at, like the only thing you're going to get bit on is a wacky worm.
Right.
That's it. Well, for the most, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, it is interesting when the hair jig works. You can just put everything down, and that's the only thing that goes. And it really was that, and it really, it didn't do like the jerkbait when we were up there, which has been the last couple of years. The jerkbait, shadow wrap, X wrap, outshot. Like I picked up the hair jig a little bit. And I'm like,
you can't put it down.
Yeah.
They were just reacting. It needed that. It needed that lure, and we saw it. Even that little video clip that I just put. It is amazing when that water temperature and I always say below 55 degrees, they key on that hair tail, and we talked about that in the show. I talked about that a lot because it really interests me about how they come up and nip and that X wrap with that feathered tail. I have a whole compartment that I make sure when we go to Mille Lacs that it's always full, because I went that one day. I went through 2 or 3 feathered treble tails because they just shredded. I'm fine with that. I don't care. But you're actually using the main part of the jerkbait almost as a carrier for that feathered tail. It is the oddest thing I have ever seen, how a fish hits a lure that, okay, I'm 5 pounds, I'm coming after this whole bait. No, I'm just going to bite it in the ass. And they key in on that little feather tail. And I said, I don't know why that is, but all I know is when you realize that you catch some very, very big fish just because of that. Now, do you have any feelings about why you think that happens? Or I just look at it after all these years, I'm not really sure. I don't care. I just know it works.
Yeah, I think that you see something similar happen in musky fishing with big bucktails, and you're pulling in a big bucktail, and it's like going like this. Treble hooks are here, and you got this multi-section bucktail, big blades up here, and the muskie will come up and they'll nose the bucktail. And they almost, a lot of times, they'll bite the hairs in the back of the bucktail. You talk to any musky angler, they'll tell you the stories. Huge 40, 50-inch fish, and they'll come up and they're just nipping at the back of the bait, the actual hair on the bucktail. And you're seeing the same thing. It's just in the fish DNA, like these aggressive predators like smallmouth basses. You're getting their attention with the bait. The action of the bait is kind of drawing them in, and they're not quite, they want a little sample. And the easiest thing they get is the little treble hook kind of flips, the way it's jointed like that, kind of flips off the back, and it's kind of hanging in to come up, and then just kind of nip that. And whatever is written in their DNA to make them react to that, I don't know, but it's there, and it's a real thing. And we've seen it not only smallmouth bass, you see it in other, you can see probably trout and salmon too. Trout, the tiny little, and they'll come
little
up, tiny little things, and maybe they won't even bite that. We're looking at them, and you got a bait this big, and they bite like half of it, and they're like, what is going on?
And I'd never thought about that. I've caught lake trout before, out on Lake Michigan, trolling for 150 foot deep, They're eating a little tiny howie fly, little teeny tiny thing.
Wow.
And you just I forgot about that. It just amazes you about sometimes how big a fish is. And you're right, however God put it in their DNA. Yeah, we're going to go out and just try that little teeny tiny thing right there. And that ends up being the hottest bait of the day for the biggest fish. You know, and it's just really cool. I said, and I know you feel the same way, and I think your dad does too. And that's probably where I heard it from 25 years ago. But early season for smallmouth, you better have an X-Wrap, and you better have one for sure in size 10. 8 and 6 ain't going to hurt you either. But you better have that X-Wrap with you when that water's below 55 degrees, because that hothead, I know it's a favorite of yours, that bright pink is, and I'm sure everybody else has some favorites of theirs, but you better have that bait with you. That's not pushing a brand, folks. That's just flat out, that just works.
Yeah, especially if the water stained too, like the hothead and the pink, it just, I believe it helps a lot to get those fish, and get those fish to come in, and the visual aspect of it, as well as the movement of it, and the vibration through the water. And it's just seen it work everywhere from Lake Champlain to Southern California to the Colorado River to Lake Texoma, all the way up through it's just everywhere. It works everywhere.
Yeah, and I've had people ask me before, what do you like about the X-Wrap? Exactly what you just said. It works. I don't know what else to tell you. It just catches fish. And it catches fish in about every size, all the way down from 4 to crappies and panfish, all the way up to the biggest X-Wrap you can throw for big pike, for muskies, for monster smallmouth and largemouth. When they get that bite, that is just one lure that just flat out attracts and triggers them. So, hey, buddy, I enjoyed talking with you. As I always do. I said I wish we lived closer together so we could hang out and fish some more, because we'd laugh a lot and smile a lot. I always enjoy the time with you. Share with the people listening and that will see this, where else they can see, if they've been living under a rock, where else they can see all your shows, Angling Buzz, and just list a list of them.
For myself, Troy Lindner, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, not even really on YouTube, TikTok as well, just Troy Lindner. And then for Angling Buzz, anglingbuzz.com, that has all our past shows, a lot more articles, blogs, current fishing reports, also the YouTube channel, Angling Buzz, that has all our newest videos. We got a new one coming out tomorrow on swim bait fishing. It's going to be one of, I think, the best one out of the whole new season. I'm excited about that. So definitely check out Angling Buzz.
Yeah, and I know because you have a slight love for swim baits, just a little bit, all the way from 2 inches all the way. You throw them if they were 20 inches long. I think I know. So, but they flat out catch fish. Well, my friend, all the best to you. I hope I talk to you soon. I know we'll see each other on social media. But safe travels. God bless you, buddy. Thanks for being here.
A lot of fun. Thank you.
Just one of my favorite people in the industry. That's just I'm glad to call him a friend. I'm very grateful we get to fish together here, because we have fun. We have a lot of fun together, and we end up catching some big fish. So hopefully, thank you for all of you joined in tonight. I'm gonna play that little teaser one more time. A couple of you joined in. Some of you joined in late. We're gonna throw this out there again. This is a teaser for the new show that Troy and I have on Wire to Fish next week on Jim Crowley Outdoors. So I hope you enjoyed this quick thing, and stay with us for just a couple more minutes here. Jim Crowley Outdoors on Wired to Fish TV on free ad-supported streaming TV, including Plex, that can be downloaded in the App Store at Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, and others. Good. I hope you all got a laugh out of that. It's going to be a fun show. There's a lot of fun, a lot of big smallmouth, and a lot of technique. And we tell you exactly how we're doing everything, and hopefully that you can find some success doing the same thing. So before I let you go, I want to thank our partners that are just absolutely great for being with us, American Tackle Company. Our friends over at Explore Lacrosse, I'll be heading there tomorrow. So look for reports on social media, both Facebook and Instagram. We'll be going white bass and doing some crappie fishing up there and fill you in on some of that, as we always try to do, and let you know where we're at and what we're doing. So hopefully you can be more successful. And lacrosse is one of those best places just to bring the family and have a great time. Our friends over at Shields over there, always having sales, always great. Doesn't matter if you fish, doesn't matter if you ride bikes, doesn't matter if you throw darts, baseball, football. Shields has everything, and they have the people there that know it. Our friends for Cask King, any of you, matter of fact, before we do this, let's do this for all of you. I do want to put out this discount code that we always do every week, and that is from our friends at American Tackle. And that code JCO20 right there. If you go to American Tackle and put in AmericanTackleAnglerProducts.com, anything on their website, anything on the American Tackle Angler Products website, you can get 20% off with that code JCO20. So go get some stuff and save some money on us and American Tackle. Happy to have you going there. Same thing with our friends at Cask King. So much more new stuff coming out from Cask King. iCast is going to be so much fun. I can't wait. I'm going to be in several booths at ICAST for the several days that I'm going to be there, but the Cask King booth is definitely going to be one of them, along with the American Tackle booth. And I'll fill you in more as we get closer to ICAST. We will also be doing lives every day from the show to let you know what's going on at ICAST. So like we did last year, and a lot of you seem to love it. So if you don't follow Jim Crowley Outdoors on Facebook or Instagram, please go ahead and do so, because I will always do my best to keep you up to date what's going on with new products, what's going on in the industry, some of the fun stuff we do, and just always willing to share some techniques and some new stuff with you. Hey, it's fishing, it's fun. That's what it's supposed to be. And if you're interested in anything from Cask King, go to CaskKing.com and put in the code JC52AFF. You'll get 20% off of everything on the site. Right there on everything at Cask King. Put that code in right there. And also our friends at Dakota Lithium. Want to congratulate Dakota Lithium Pro Brock Mosley, who has been on this show. Great guy. And he won a tournament. I knew it wasn't going to be long. He's been second 4 times, a bunch of other top finishes. And Brock is a great guy. We had him on the show. Wonderful. What a great thing for him and his family. 8 years of being a pro, and Brock won his first one. Nowhere to go but up with this guy. He's just one of the guys that I think has a really good, solid heart. He's got a good foundation and a good love of the Lord, and I know Brock is going to continue to do well. We got a couple more comments here. Jim Sharp says, yeah, Shields is the greatest. And yes, they definitely are, Jim. They are great people and great friends of ours. So thank you once again to everybody who joined us. Everybody who will join us after this, remember, you can share the live. If you like this, please do so. Please share it. It'll be available here on Facebook here in a minute that you can share it. Please tell your friends about it. Share it with all you know. And if you haven't followed us on Facebook yet or liked us on Instagram or reverse, please go ahead and do that. That we can keep up with all the cool stuff and all the fun stuff that we're doing. We are so grateful to all of you for joining us each and every time. And for those of you on Roku, Fire TV, Amazon Music, iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Thank you all so very much. God bless you all. Keep forward. Keep looking to us for updates on social media. Like I said, Facebook and Instagram. Have a great rest of the week. God bless you. We'll see you soon.